Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here for my weekly comic book review. These comics came out August 28th, 2013, and I'm going to review them. Starting off from Dynamite Comics, we have The Green Hornet number 5 by Mark Waid. Alright, after pretty much the issue deals, most of the time it's Britt Reed dealing with the fallout of his publishing career being in the toilet. And, you know, when it seems like everything's going to be terrible for Britt Reed, it actually shows him standing up for himself and talking back. Like when he's dealing with the board, people say, the board members are like, "Oh yeah, your dad would never do this. You're a disgrace to him." But he's like, "Yeah, you know what? I knew my dad, and he would. And you know, every time something like this happened to him, he would just get up and fight and stuff, and just basically insults him." And also, he manages to locate Kato, and after they fight, where pretty much, even though Kato is the superior fighter, Britt still has other tools, mostly money, which he throws at the people around him to distract them, and also his gadgets, particularly his gas capsules, which he's able to use to knock out Kato. And when he brings him back to base, he's able to talk it out with Kato, and they decide to work again to find out who the real bombers are. Which, you know, you kind of forget about, which when reading the issue, I kind of forgot about the bombers until the last page when, you know, when you're reminded, oh right, they're going after the Mad Bombers, who are actually members of this club, this like gentleman's club that Britt Reed's also a member of. Yeah, Green Hornet number 5. I would say this is definitely a buy. If Mark Waid is doing a great job on this book, in a lot of ways this does remind me of Daredevil in that this is a hero who really doesn't have that many extraordinary... Well, in the case of Green Hornet, he doesn't have any superpowers. All of the villains are just like common, or more like corrupt businessmen or politicians, or they're just like regular street criminals. I think this is great. If you like that sort of thing, if you like reading about superheroes but without any superpowers or science fiction stuff, this is definitely worth a buy. Okay, next up, DC Comics. Aquaman, number 23. Aquaman and Mera are able to get out of Zebul. When they do, they head over to Atlantis, which is under attack by the Scavengers forces. During the battle, though, one of the soldiers, who's probably a strong ally amongst the Atlanteans for Aquaman, takes a missile that was meant for Aquaman, and he dies. So Aquaman, realizing how much they're outgunned, decides to summon his greatest weapon, Topo, which, if you remember a couple back in, I think right after Thrones of Atlantis ended, Aquaman went and talked to Topo, who's pretty much now this giant squid monster, this giant sea monster. Well, Aquaman is actually able to summon him, but it takes a lot of... But Aquaman's fish telepathy is really strained at this point, because while he's trying to control Topo and use him to attack the Scavengers' forces, he's also getting like you see blood coming out of his nose, so he's having an aneurysm at the same time. And right when Topo basically defeats him and Scavengers' forces are cleared out, the Dead King, along with the army of Zebul, arrives, and at that point Aquaman just like starts getting faint, and he's knocked out unconscious. And then when he wakes up, he's apparently being healed by Volko, who reveals to Aquaman that that Aquaman has been unconscious for 6 months, and that's where the issue ends. Okay, Aquaman number 23. Really like how they tied up this. I really like this issue. Okay, they pretty much concluded the whole Dead King arc, as well as the whole thing with the Scavenger at this point, but while also leaving it open. In this case, Aquaman was knocked out for 6 months, so a lot of time has gone by. Also, we actually see the limits of Aquaman's fish telepathy, or mind control, really, because in issue 1 he explained that he really doesn't talk to fish, he more or less controls their minds in the form of telepathy. And in this case, we actually see what the limit is. In this case, Topo. In fact, Aquaman, I remember when Aquaman first summoned Topo, he didn't use his powers. He had to use a special conch cell. In this case, since he wasn't near the shell, he probably had to summon Topo himself, and that's what knocked him out. I liked seeing that. That was cool. I mean, I loved it when he called it. I mean, when they brought in Topo, it was a double-page spread. It was beautiful. Just amazing. And I would definitely recommend really recommend picking up Aquaman. It is brilliant. Jeff Johnson's doing a great job on this title. Definitely buy it. Next up, we have Flash, number 23. the identity of the Reverse Flash is revealed, and it is, spoiler alert, Daniel West, Iris's brother. We learn about Daniel's identity when Iris is at the Central City PD police department, and the DNA scan that Barry brought, the DNA of the Reverse Flash, the test is finished, and it identifies the DNA as Daniel West. And that's when Iris sees the results. That's when her speed powers activate, and she goes where Flash and Reverse Flash are fighting, and right when Reverse Flash grabs Dr. Elias's Speed Force gun and fires at the Flash, Iris shows up and she takes the hit, and then she dies, and then she gets knocked out. Then Flash and Reverse Flash just charge at each other, and Flash is angry. They're both angry at each other for the way Iris got hurt, and then boom! Right when they collide, though, the Reverse Flash is able to siphon off some energy off the Flash, and he claims that now he'll finally be able to do what he wants, and that's to go back in time. Throughout the issue, Reverse Flash explains to Flash that the reason he killed all the other speedsters is because apparently their connection to the Speed Force moves time forward, and he wants to move time backwards. We don't know why yet. I believe all of this will be cleared up in the Reverse Flash Villains Month issue, which is going to come out in September. I cannot wait for that. Seriously, this Reverse Flash story arc has been great. I mean, since the beginning, for the first time since the beginning of the New 52, I'm actually really enjoying the Flash. Okay, and the fact that the Reverse Flash is Iris's brother, maybe this means we'll get to see Wally soon. Who knows? All I'm saying is, right now, I'm loving this story arc. It's going to conclude in issue number 24, which will be in October after Villains Month is done. But I cannot wait for it. Seriously, definitely at this point, I would say catch up on all the issues, since the conclusion won't be out for another month. Alright, moving along. Alright, now for something I really enjoyed from DC. Justice League number 23, the conclusion to Trinity War. Okay, before I get into this, I will say, big spoilers here. Big spoilers, so you've been warned. Okay, all three teams arrive at the ruins where Madame Xanadu and the Outsider are. And, of course, right when they do it, they all start arguing over the box. And during the fight, the box does temporarily go dormant for a minute, which allows everyone to clear their heads for a bit. And right when they do so, Firestorm says Wonder Woman still claims that the box is somehow making Superman sick, but Firestorm interjects and says that, he's not sick from the box, it's actually kryptonite, because Firestorm learned how to make kryptonite so he can detect it. And so Element Woman pretty much goes into Superman microscopically and discovers that there's a microscopic sliver of kryptonite in a nerve in Superman's brain, and when it was shoved in there, that caused his heat vision to go out crazy and kill Dr. Light. And apparently the person who put it there is the Atom, and she reveals that she's a traitor to both the Justice League and the Justice League of America, and she also somehow activates, well, I don't know if she activates it or it activates on its own, but a computer virus in Cyborg's cybernetic prosthetics activates, and they become sentient, which then the prosthetics separate from Victor Stone and take on their own form, known as Grid. And right when Grid takes sentience, the Outsider manages to grab the box. And apparently it's revealed that Pandora's box is a gateway, but it's not. But it actually acts like a mother box. In a way, it's a gateway to Earth 3, which summons the Crime Syndicate of America. And the Outsider is actually the Alfred of Earth 3. Wow. And who works for Owlman, his master. And also, the Atom, who we thought was from our universe, was actually from Earth 3. She goes by Atomica, and she's in a relationship with Johnny Quick, who's the Flash's counterpart on that Earth. And so the Crime Syndicate arrives, and with pretty much Cyborg and Superman down, all the heroes are stunned, and then the Crime Syndicate basically arrives, and they declare Earth theirs, and they head off. And that's pretty much what begins Forever Evil. Seriously, this was a great conclusion. I loved it. It actually makes me want to get Forever Evil #1 now. I mean, wow, it was just impressive. The thing with the Outsider, though, I'm pretty sure no one had any idea who he was, but then the reveal that he was actually the Alfred of Earth 3, that was great, because originally in the Silver Age, the Outsider was actually Alfred, albeit there was a long story where he died, but still, nice little homage to that. Also, I can't wait. Also, what else? Okay, I just had this, but the Crime Syndicate also, when they emerge, we also see Superwoman has someone tied up in her golden lasso, and also the prisoner's face is covered. My guess is that prisoner is probably going to be Alexander Luthor of Earth 3, who's that Earth's last superhero. But yeah, the Crime Syndicate arrives, Forever Evil begins, really great. Trinity War was amazing. It really was a good book, and if you are planning on getting Forever Evil, I'd recommend getting since this pretty much the good thing about Trinity War was that it was told in 3 books, and it only took about two issues from each title to tell, so it was done in like 2 months, so that was very nice. And again, if you have any plans on getting Forever Evil #1, I recommend getting all the issues from Trinity War first. Really great story. It was a really great story arc. Very nice. The conclusion of this actually did make me look forward to Forever Evil. Definitely buy this. Okay, now it's time for Marvel with Captain America #10. Steve Rogers, Sharon Carter, and Jet Black try to escape Dimension Z before the explosives that Sharon rigged to Zola's palace explode. Of course, when they do detonate, at first Jet doesn't want the palace destroyed because she wants to protect, because apparently the palace has the last remnants of her father's consciousness. Steve and Sharon are able to talk her out of it. Also, they deal with a couple of mutates on their way back through the portal. But then, the big reveal is that Zola apparently takes another form, this time as a giant-sized version extending from the palace, and tries to stop the trio as they're heading towards the portal back to New York City. And, of course, in order to get everyone to safety, Sharon sacrifices herself to stop Zola and also detonate the explosives remotely so that they can get away. And so she dives right in, detonates the explosives. Steve and Jet make it through the portal, and right when they get through, though, Steve just immediately heads back because he's really worried about Sharon. But when he goes in, he remembers that time moves faster in Dimension Z. So when he goes in, he sees like the remains of the palace are all just like nothing but ruins with like stuff growing on them. So Steve is devastated. Then Jet pulls him back because the portal is now unstable and it collapses. And so basically Steve and Jet Black made it back to New York City, but Steve is not happy at all because he's lost a lot. He's lost his son Ian and the love of his life, Sharon Carter. He's just devastated. However, and this is a spoiler here, so if you don't want to know about it, just fast forward until I hold up the cover again. On the last few pages, we see that apparently some of the mutates did survive the explosion, and they were making a comeback, but they were stopped by an army of Fonks but they were driven off by an army of the citizens known as Dimension Z, known as the Franks, who are led by an older version of Ian Rogers. Yep, the kid survived. He's older. He's also wearing a costume that's similar to Captain America's. He's also got a shield that was used by one of the Captain Zola clones, and apparently he's using the name Nomad. Yeah. So yeah, Ian survived. I am happy about that. I was really happy. I was really enjoying the issue itself. Like when Steve got back to New York, I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good. But then the last page where Ian was alive, I was really overjoyed. Don't know if Sharon Carter's still alive. They didn't make any talks about that. Anyways, but yeah, Captain America #10. This is the conclusion of the Dimension Z story arc. Really great. I would say if you haven't read these issues individually, wait for the trade to come out. But right now, Captain America which is written by Rick Remender right now, I would say jump on next issue, which is going to be issue 11. I mean, I was seriously considering dropping this book. I was like, okay, this Dimension Z has gone on long enough because it's issue 10 and we're just concluding the first story arc. And I was like, okay, well, probably once the story arc is done, I'm going to drop it. But this issue saved me. It now makes me want to look forward to more Captain America. I really can't wait to see it. Yeah, so again, Dimension Z story arc, wait for the trade. If you want to check out, I would definitely recommend this series, but for new readers, wait till next issue. Okay? Next up, Scarlet Spider, number 21. The return of Ben Reilly. Not. It turns out that what we saw from last issue with Kane's facial scars returning, and apparently he thinks he's going through the clone degeneration process again. After Kane freaks out about when he notices his scars coming back, he heads off into the city into the city of Houston in a blind rage, where suddenly he's confronted by Ben Reilly, and they start fighting each other. And of course they start fighting each other, and then ultimately though Kane starts seeing hallucinations of the Jackal and the Superior Spider-Man, until finally Kane's suddenly able to realize that his scars aren't actually here, and that this guy isn't Ben Reilly. And it turns out the whole time it was Kraven in a Ben Reilly costume. Here, because apparently right when Kane was at the airport, either leaving for New York or coming back from New York, he was shot with a dart. And that drugged him and poisoned him and caused a bunch of hallucinations, which were such as seeing his facial scars return. And meanwhile, while Kane was dealing with Scarlet Kraven the whole time, Kraven's daughter Anna was going after all of Kane's friends in Houston. Dr. Wally, Arclay, pretty much all of Kane's allies in Houston were being attacked by Anna. And now Kraven has come to Houston to get revenge on Kane because of the whole resurrection thing, that in order for one of them to live, one must die. Okay, to be honest, the Ben Reilly fake out, I really didn't think that this would have been a full resurrection for Ben Reilly, because if it was, they probably would have made a bigger deal about it. But I kind of thought this would have been when they did show the cover for this, and then we saw Kane with Scarlet Spider Ben Reilly, I kind of thought that that was probably what the Jackal did last issue. When the Jackal found a case of Kane's DNA, I kind of thought that Jackal was going to send a clone to attack Kane and stuff. But apparently that's not the case. It's actually Kraven the whole time. Okay, I did like how the issue did have Kane in the Scarlet Spider costume. It reminded me of Kraven's Last Hunt, when Kraven wore Spider-Man's costume for a bit after he thought he killed Spider-Man and went after Vermin. Now, and also how this is sort of like an epilogue to Grim Hunt, which was the story arc that brought back Kraven after Kane, that brought Kraven back to life when Kraven's family supposedly killed Kane but they thought he was Peter Parker. And yeah, I would say if you liked Kraven's Last Hunt and Grim Hunt, buy this book. If not, if you wanted to get it because of the resurrection, because you thought, oh hey, Ben Reilly's back, don't buy it. Pretty much Kraven fans, you'll probably like this. Everyone else, you can just skip it. Moving on, Young Avengers number 9. The whole point of this book was just to break up Wiccan and Hulkling. Well, not exactly break up. They decide to, well, I don't know. I really don't know. It feels like they did break up at the end because, alright, the Young Avengers are able to make their way back to Mother's Dimension to save Prodigy and Hulkling, and the way they're able to do that is Kid Loki brings in a bunch of other dimensional doppelgangers of themselves to help distract Mother while the team goes back into their regular dimension. And when they get back to their regular dimension, to the place they started, they see fake Spectre Patriot there, who's just kind of rickrolling them before he disappears. And then they go to the diner and they talk about this for a bit. And apparently, after they decide to go back to their home dimension, Kid, Wiccan they kind of make a plan where Wiccan continues his training with Kid Loki until they can figure out a way to stop Mother permanently, and Teddy decides to leave the team. And of course, Teddy leaves the team, and he can't go back to New York City again because of the whole incident involving Mother, and so apparently on the last page it's revealed he's in Austin, Texas, and the person he's talking to about all this is Leah, that girl we met at the beginning of this, who really freaks Kid Loki out, who was trapped in the Hell Dimension earlier. So that's pretty much what happened in this. Okay, I feel like Young Avengers. I don't know how much of this book I can take anymore. Okay, I feel like Gillen. I feel like in order to really understand what the hell is going on with this, would have to go back to read Journey into Mystery to understand Kid Loki and his relationship with this Leah girl is. Also, I really feel. Also, what the hell? Also, we got no progress at all. Okay, we don't know who this guy pretending to be Patriot is. We don't know. We have no. They're not any closer to defeating Mother. It's just. The only thing that this issue did was just break up Wiccan and Hulkling, which was really dumb, by the way. It was just effing stupid. Okay, I would say skip this. Right, skip it. If you think about getting this issue, just skip it. All you need to know is that Hulkling left the team and Billy. That's it. Skip it. Okay, moving on. Last comic. Uncanny Avengers number 11. The Uncanny Avengers are still being tormented by the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Daken has Wolverine, is pretty much torturing Wolverine. Grim Reaper is taunting Wonder Man, who's been captured. And Sentry's fighting Thor. Meanwhile, the Apocalypse twins, who have captured the Scarlet Witch, revealed their plan to her, which is they want to avoid the future timeline where Red Skull merges with the Onslaught entity and becomes Red Onslaught and takes over the world. So they figured the best way to do this is to move every mutant to another world they're creating as a mutant sanctuary called Planet X. And in order to do that, they need Wanda's powers to help rapture all the mutants to this world. And at the end of the issue, the Apocalypse twins make an announcement over the airway, broadcasting, saying that they will move every mutant to this new sanctuary, so they'll be safe and use their powers safely and free from persecution and stuff. And on the last page, and they don't just immediately force Wanda to do it. They say, think it over. We'll let you decide. And on the last page, Wanda agrees to help them. Okay, one of the things that I liked about this issue was the scene between Daken and Wolverine. Okay, I think if you read Rick Remender's run on Uncanny X-Force, I mean, that's what I think the story arc deals with mostly. It deals with the stuff Rick Remender wrote back on Uncanny X-Force, where we have where Dark Angel became Apocalypse, and also when Wolverine was pretty much forced to drown his son. Really like that dialogue when Dawkins talking to Wolverine. That was just brilliant writing right there. It was a good scene. I loved it. Also, the Apocalypse twins plan, the way they kind of coerced Wanda into helping them, that was pretty interesting. But yeah, I'd say this is a good Uncanny Avengers. It's a great series. I think the people who will probably enjoy it the most are the ones who've enjoyed Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force, because a lot of those elements went into this story arc. So I think they'll really enjoy this as well. So yeah, for fans of Uncanny X-Force, this is definitely a buy. Okay, and that's it for my comic review. Okay, quick little recap. Uncanny Avengers number 11. The Apocalypse twins are getting ready to rapture every mutant to Planet X. Definitely a buy for fans of Uncanny X-Force. Young Avengers number 9. Teddy leaves the team and breaks up with Wiccan. That's it. That's all. Skip it. Scarlet Spider number 21. Kraven comes back to get revenge on Kane by tormenting him by pretending to be Ben Reilly and also thinking his clone degeneration's coming back. If you liked, pretty much buy if you're a fan of Kraven's Last Hunt or Grim Hunt. Captain America number 10. Really great conclusion. Can't wait to see what Remender has next on this title. I would say buy this story arc. If you haven't read any of this issues that came before this, buy this story arc in a when the trade comes out. New readers, wait till next issue. Justice League number 23. Conclusion to Trinity War really went well. Big reveals were told about characters. This crime syndicate has arrived, and it actually makes me look forward to Forever Evil. I would say definitely a buy. 2. I've looked forward to reading The Flash. Since the conclusion won't be out till October, I would say you can catch up on buy all the individual issues that led up to it, and then read the conclusion, because this story arc is definitely a buy. Aquaman number 23. Aquaman summons Topo, and it takes a lot out of him that results in him being knocked out for 6 months. What happened during the 6 months? What's going to happen to the King of the Seas next? Who knows? Definitely, this pretty much concludes everything. The Dead Sea story arc and the Scavenger thing, definitely a buy. Excuse me. And finally, Green Hornet number 5. If you enjoyed Mark Waid's work on Daredevil, you'll enjoy this as well. Definitely a buy. And that's it for my comic review this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.